Good morning to my examiners, Dr. Muhammad Nur Hisham Razali and Professor Dr. Yongjin Park, and to my supervisor, Ms. Nur Dalila Muhammad Rusli. I am Adeka Anding Aganduk, Matric number BI 171-10133. This is my final year Project 1 presentation, and my project title is Chatbot Assessment using Hybrid of Natural Language Processing and Conversational Interface in Dormitory Management System. So, before we start, these are the contents that I am going to talk about today. The first one, I'm going to talk about project background, which covers the introduction, problem background, problem statements, and objective. Next, I am going to talk about literature review, and then after that, I'm going to talk about methodology, and then system analysis and design, and then preliminary implementation, and finally, conclusion. Firstly, dormitory is a place for students to live in. It is a place that students whose residence is far away from the educational institution can live in. Other than that, it is considered as an essential needs for students. Next, University Malaysia Sabah have thousands of dormitory students. This is because UMS have 10 dormitory. Most of them are located at Kota Kinabalu and others are located at Sandakan and Labuan. Next, UMS Dormitory Chatbot System answers questions related to UMS Dormitory. It is designed to help dormitory staff to answer questions from students related to dormitories. Firstly, for the problem background, UMS need to cater for thousands of dormitory students. Thus, questions related to dormitories are surely going to be asked by these students. Next, staff need to answer repeated queries about dormitories. Since UMS need to cater for thousands of students, most of these students are going to ask the same set of questions. Next, does a chatbot implemented with natural language processing and conversational interface can increase chatbot's precision rate? Since natural language processing still cannot fully understand and converse fluently with real users yet, thus a chatbot implemented with natural language processing and conversational interface can improve the chatbot's performance. Firstly, for problem statements, it is difficult for UMS dormitory students to get consistent, accurate, and quick replies regarding dormitory questions. This is because some of the UMS dormitory's office are far from the students' dormitory. So, in order to get their queries answered, students need to walk to the office. Other than that, dormitory staff cannot provide students with consistent, accurate, and quick replies to their questions because their main job is to do administrative job. Next, natural language processing not providing the most accurate answers to questions asked. Since the technology of natural language processing is still in the very early stages, its precision rate has only reached around 60 to 70%, which is not usable for certain cases. For the project objective, firstly, it is to design a chatbot system using natural language processing and conversational interface. The second one is to develop a chatbot system using natural language processing and conversational interface. The third one is to test and validate the performance of the chatbot with respect to suitable chatbot performance metrics. For literature review, this is the table of comparison of chatbots. This table consists of chatbot name, chatbot type, do they implement conversational interface, and do they implement natural language processing. From my study, I found out that most of the chatbots here are closed domain, and most of them doesn't apply conversational interface into their system. However, most of the chatbots do apply natural language processing into their system. So, for UMS dormitory chatbot system, it is going to be a closed domain chatbot since it only answers queries related to dormitories. It is going to apply conversational interface, and it is also going to apply natural language processing. For methodology, the methodology that I chosen is Agile methodology. This is because Agile methodology is a highly iterative methodology where developers can easily do improvement or correction at any phase of the development. So for the first phase of Agile methodology, which is planning, it is going to deliver a flowchart of activities and preliminary report. Next, for the second phase, analysis, it is going to deliver the requirement documentation. Next, for the third phase, design, it is going to deliver system design specification, context diagram, data flow diagram, ERD diagram, and throwaway prototypes. For the fourth phase, which is implementation, it is going to deliver functioning chatbot system. For the testing phase, which is phase 5, it is going to deliver system evaluation and finalize system. Lastly, for phase 6, maintenance, it is going to deliver the user's manual. For natural language processing algorithm development, firstly, we are going to determine the datasets. Secondly, we are going to pre-process the datasets. Thirdly, we are going to do training on the datasets. Fourthly, we are going to build a deep learning model. And fifth, we are going to test the model's accuracy. For the project's framework, firstly, we need to develop a natural language processing algorithm before we can proceed to the full project development. For system analysis and design, firstly, for the context diagram, it is going to have a single high-level process and two external entities. Other than that, each entity will have a data flow that will flow to the process and vice versa. For data flow diagram level 0, they are going to have 5 processes, 2 data store, and 2 external entities. All components will have data flowing through them. For data flow diagram level 1, it is going to have 2 processes, 1 data stores, and 1 external entities. As usual, all components will have data flows flowing through them. For entity relationship diagram, the student entity will have student ID as the primary key. It will contain name, email, and finally the foreign key, query ID. For query entity, the primary key will be query ID, and then it will contain query information, recommended information, new query information. For data dictionary, for student entity, it is going to have student ID, name, email, and query ID. For query entity, it is going to have query ID, query information, recommended information, and new query information. For user interface design, this is the sign up page. So, firstly, users will need to sign up using their first name, last name, email, UMS ID number, and their password. Next, to sign in into the chatbot system, users will need to use their UMS ID number and their password. For chatbot, this is the interface that users can chat with the chatbot. Next, for exiting the chatbot, users can type in exit chatbot, and then users will be logged out to the sign-in page. For admin page, this is the page where admin can edit recommended service, edit dormitory information, and get chatbot report. For preliminary implementation, this is the result of me chatting with the chatbot that I built. This chatbot implements natural language processing technique such as tokenization and lemmatization. However, I'm still facing difficulties in building the deep learning model for this chatbot. This causes the chatbot to sometimes return the wrong answers. So, I'm planning to build the deep learning model as fast as I can so that I can proceed with the full development of this system. In conclusion, the fully developed chatbot system is expected to improve the way students obtain information about dormitories and also eases the burden of staffs and students. Thank you, dear examiners and supervisor, for spending your time watching this video presentation.